This whole mess in Virginia right now, the top three Democrats embroiled in scandal.
Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax now has a second accuser alleging that he raped her back at Duke.
Do you think any message for the citizens of Virginia?
We'll have our say.
Democrats set an impossible standard. Whether it's sexual assault allegations or blackface is automatically assumed to be racism.
Democrats seemingly on their own witch hunt, sparring with the acting attorney general about his supervision of the Mueller probe.
Who are you? Where did you come from?
You wouldn't oversee a witch hunt, would you? Chairman, I see that your 5 minutes is up, and so...
Lunatics in the Congress have a brand new plan to destroy our economy. It's called the Green New Deal.
Our planet is in peril, and we need to be bold. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, it's all of this. If we used to govern our dreams that way, we would have never gone to the moon.
The richest man in the world, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, accusing the National Enquirer of blackmail and extortion.
You have to ask, who is this story more embarrassing for, Jeff Bezos or the National Enquirer?
National Pizza Day claims that this town has the best pizza.
It does.
This is what America knows.
Come on, man.
America knows that Pizza Hut has the best pizza.
Okay, if you're looking for a new pitch man,
yep.
Pete, Pizza Hut, give him a call.
Two texts already.
You know what's great about Pizza Hut? Even on day 2 when it's cold, still good.
Two texts already from my Italian mom at home saying I'm going to have words with him.
Solange, she knows what she's talking about when she's talking about
America agrees with me, though. Every small town's got a Pizza Hut, and when you go on Friday night after the big game or whatever, you go and you
We're
get...
not Pizza Hut haters.
Maybe
We're just
you get
saying
the
we're from
buffet.
New York, and you should learn.
People come to New York just to eat the pizza.
Yeah.
They come to New York for the Empire State Building.
He won't give in. He just won't give in. You reason
Stubborn,
with him.
this one.
All right.
But congratulations.
Stubborn.
Go eat pizza today.
Yeah,
it's a great
good.
day.
Everyone.
Reason to celebrate. Ed, I'm supposed to read this tease, but you should.
Yeah, it seems like your mouth is full. We begin with the political chaos, not just dealing with Pete, but in Virginia. The state's lieutenant governor now facing, yes, threats of impeachment.
A Democratic lawmaker in the state giving Justin Fairfax a simple ultimatum amid a second sexual assault accusation.
David Spunt is in our nation's capital with the latest. David, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, just a week ago, it appeared it was Governor Northam who was going to step down following that racist yearbook photo. Now a second woman has come forward accusing the lieutenant governor of sexual assault. The law firm representing Meredith Watson says, quote, Mr. Fairfax's attack was premeditated and aggressive, end quote. And that, quote, Miss Watson shared her account of the rape with friends in a series of emails and Facebook messages that are now in our possession. We have statements from former classmates corroborating that Miss Watson immediately told friends that Mr. Fairfax had raped her. Now, in a statement, the lieutenant governor said, quote, I deny this latest unsubstantiated allegation. It is demonstratively false. I've never forced myself on anyone ever. I made a full investigation into these unsubstantiated and false allegations. If Fairfax doesn't voluntarily leave, a Virginia delegate plans to impeach him.
I believe these women. He needs to resign immediately. Should the lieutenant governor fail to do so, on Monday, I intend to introduce articles of impeachment.
More to the story. The state's attorney general, Mark Herring, thought to take the governor's spot if Northam and Fairfax both resigned, also admitted to posing in blackface in a school yearbook. So far, he says that he's staying put. Meanwhile, Governor Northam says that he's staying in his position, sent an internal email to government employees yesterday apologizing for causing a distraction from their work.
David, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, Democrats are trying to have it both ways. They're trying to say resign publicly to virtue signal that they're good people, but privately in back channels they're saying, Governor Northam, don't go anywhere.
Some of them are.
Some of them are. A lot of them, prominent Democrats,
that a Republican is in line to potentially be governor if all three of the top elected Democratic officials have to step down or impeached.
This is where you see who the really principled people are, though, because when it was an issue with Kavanaugh, a lot of people like me, like many of us, were saying due process, due process. Now the same thing is going around, and we're saying investigate it, due process, particularly when it comes to Fairfax. So now you see who are the partisan hacks, who are the people who are agenda-driven, and who are the people who are actually protecting the due process in the country. And it's interesting, we spoke to Charlie Kirk last hour, talking to him about in Virginia, how do voters feel about whether these leaders should resign? And he hit the streets yesterday before the second accusation against Fairfax. And check out what people had to say.
That the governor should resign. Yes. I guess, yeah. A lot of people have been fired for less.
I understand the call for the resignation of the governor. I don't think he should resign yet.
So he should not resign?
No, I don't think so. Neither one of them.
The lieutenant governor's under accusations, too.
Yeah, the accusations against him are true, then he should resign as well.
Yeah, I feel like he should resign. Same with Justin Fairfax. There should be a zero-tolerance policy like in Virginia, honestly.
A lot of the voters of Virginia are still in kind of a state of shell shock. They're stunned with all of these accusations that have been lining up one after the other. And there was one common theme, though. There were many of the voters were agreeing that we should not have a rush to judgment, but there was definitely a consensus that each one of these office holders have done something wrong, something I agree with, but they had differences of whether they should resign or not and which ones should resign.
It's pretty easy to be confused right now if you're a voter in Virginia. Who's telling the truth? What's happening? Who goes? Who stays?
Well, I spoke to David Bossie a couple days ago, who, of course, worked on the Trump 2016 campaign, still a big Trump supporter and Fox News contributor, and he was saying he doesn't want any of them to resign, even though a Republican could eventually take over. He said, leave all these Democrats in power, let them all be confused. You have big state races, legislative races in Virginia in 2019 that will set the table, yes, for 2020, where President Trump lost Virginia, but it's been a swing state. It was carried by Obama twice, Hillary Clinton once. Maybe it could be up for grabs in 2020 if this chaos on the Democratic side continues.
And these are two very different issues, not to conflate them, of course. When you're dealing with sexual assault, rape allegations, and then you're dealing with issues of blackface. We spoke to David Webb as well about this, and there's lots of nuance in this. We're going to find that uncovered photos from years ago are going to surface, and we're going to have a plan as a nation. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with old yearbook photos? How do you deal with people who at one time dressed up in Halloween costumes that maybe weren't offensive back then, or maybe were offensive, but now are highly, highly offensive and deemed racist by many?
Yes.
Do those people resign? How do you handle this whole
And that's
thing?
where the media, I think, has a responsibility to be responsible. The problem is, in the Trump era, the rest of the media in this town have lost their mind. And so they jump on any little nugget if it serves their agenda.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about kind of a crazy story and extreme policy on the left. This is policy in action, a story you're probably not going to hear in a lot of other mainstream media outlets. A story that was outrageous at the beginning, horrifying. Boyfriend of a woman who was 5 months pregnant killed her. She was a New York City real estate agent. This happened right here in Queens.
It's a murder, yeah.
Okay, he's accused of it. Obviously, he's going to be facing these charges, charged with murder. That was horrifying enough. The tabloids have been covering it, this blood-soaked scene. Now, all of a sudden, this morning, we wake up to find out that this accused killer has now been spared a second charge of abortion because she was 5 months pregnant, because of this New York law pushed by the Democratic governor, Andrew Cuomo, signed into law that basically takes abortion out of the criminal code here and turns it into a quote-unquote public health law. So this is a real-life consequence where now this accused killer is facing one less criminal charge because of what Andrew Cuomo did.
It's the logical extent of the left. It's the dehumanization of the fetus and the baby in the womb. If you believe that it could be aborted all the way up until birth, which is the implications of policy we're hearing about around the country.
Or after birth, if you bring it back to Ralph Northam in Virginia,
or after,
either way.
Right. Absolutely right. Then why would you charge someone with murder or abortion of that baby when that happens?
So they don't consider it a baby.
No, that's been a contradiction that's existed in public policy that the left has hated for a long time. Because if you acknowledge that it's a double murder or a murder and an abortion, you're acknowledging that's a life inside the womb of that mother. But when you dehumanize it, then their position becomes consistent, which is that baby is not alive until we say so.
And the story also reminds you of how this whole controversy in Virginia started. It's easy to get caught up now. We're talking about blackface. We're talking about sexual assault charges, very serious stuff. But it was very serious already when you had him coming out and talking about late-term abortion and abortion after birth in such an outrageous way, defending it in such a way that so many people should have been outraged. I'm upset that it took a photo from a high school yearbook to elicit that kind of outrage. A medical school yearbook to elicit that kind of outrage. This was a guy who was talking about post-delivery, whether or not that baby was going to be helped to be sustained. I mean, that should have been reason enough for people across the country, across the political spectrum. What kind of Democratic Party do we have that wasn't outraged at that?
Well, exactly. So abortion will be a big issue going forward. It's interesting how these issues issues pop back up. So abortion's a big issue. You saw the Green New Deal this week. Socialism will be a huge issue. But, of course, at the border will continue to be a big one, too.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a serious issue. And you go back to what the president was framing in the State of the Union this week, his idea, and this is his political view, that the Democrats have gone extreme on a range of issues, from abortion we were just talking about, high taxes as high as 70, 80, 90% for the rich, and the idea that Democrats have been saying it's a manufactured crisis on the border. Well, guess what? The new numbers are in. Apprehensions at the border from October of last year through January of this year, 201,000 or so. That's up 85% over the previous few months. So the idea is the president's been talking about, oh, there's this flooding at the border. Democrats say, A, that's not true, and B, it's a manufactured crisis. Now the numbers come in, and you say, well, maybe it's actually real. And, oh, by the way, this coming Friday, we have another deadline of some of the government agencies, the funding shutting down over this border situation. So will there be a funding deal or not?
Think about that. Up 85% over this time last year. Still no wall. Caravans coming. We're still battling about it. Maybe that's a reflection of increased scrutiny and troops at the border helping the Border Patrol, so they're apprehending more people. These stats can always kind of cut both ways, but it does show that the demand is still there. The threat is still there. And if we don't take it seriously, it will continue to develop.
Well, President Trump has taken it seriously, and so has Vice President Mike Pence. He has been out there front and center as of late talking about this issue, saying we will not rest until the border is secure with personnel and barriers. Take a listen.
We're going to continue to work to secure our border, north, south, east, and west. When it comes to our southern border, as the negotiations continue, we will not rest, we will not relent until our Customs and Border Protection have the technology, the personnel, and the barriers required to secure our border. We're going to build that wall one way or another. I promise you.
There are reports that maybe there'll be a deal as early as this weekend on border security funding. Look, we've heard that before.
That will be a deal that will be highly scrutinized by supporters of the president and conservatives. Now is, in the minds of many, not the time to cave or give.
Glad to see the vice president backing up the president on this serious issue, and he's an important messenger for the cause. All right, we're going to turn now to some headlines for you. An Idaho nurse pleading guilty to moving a missing Colorado mom's cell phone to throw off police. Crystal Lee Kenny agreeing to testify against Kelsey Barrett's fiance. Patrick Frazee is accused in the murder. It's unclear how the two met. Barrett was last seen Thanksgiving morning. Her body has yet to be found. We're going to turn now to some extreme weather for you. A monster winter storm wreaking havoc in the Northwest overnight. The governor in Washington declaring a state of emergency. Seattle is expected to get hit with the heaviest snowfall in 2 years. Some are expecting up to 8 inches with wind gusts of 45 miles per hour. Hundreds of flights are canceled and delayed in Seattle and Portland. Firefighters left in tears after an Alabama veteran's house burned down. You won't believe why.
The fireman actually come out with tears in his eyes, and he said, "You're not going to believe this. You got to come see it for yourself."
His grandfather's Bible barely touched as everything around it was burned to ashes. Since then, donations have flooded in to help the vet and his family.
Wow. Incredible story. Very cool. Possible 2020 Democratic candidates now calling for the Virginia Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, to resign. He's facing a second sexual assault allegation, but are they rushing to judgment? Charlie Hurd is here to react next.
And a love for country and a passion for pickup trucks. A fallen Marine's wish for his son on his 16th birthday came true. Thanks to the generosity of a lot of people. The amazing story coming up.
Potential 2020 Democratic candidates now calling for Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax to resign in the wake of a second allegation of sexual assault.
Fairfax denies the allegation and says he wants a full investigation into the claims. So are Democrats rushing to judgment?
Here to react, columnist at the Washington Times, Fox News contributor Charlie Hurd. Charlie, we've never seen Democrats rush to judgment in a case like this, have we?
No, never. Especially not in the middle of a political season when you've got 4,000 of them running for the nomination. Of course, they're rushing to judgment. You've got a guy here who has led an exemplary life and has achieved a pretty good honor in being elected to be lieutenant governor, and he hotly refutes these accusations. And obviously, it's, you know, we ought to sit and listen to what the accusations are, listen to his defense. But there's no time for that among these Democrats. And of course, they're in a real problem here, because if they don't convince him to quit on his own, Virginia's impeachment rules are pretty clear about the importance of they focus on things that happen in office.
Right.
And neither of these things happened anywhere in office. And so it's going to be very hard for them to force him out if they don't simply convince him to quit.
Charlie, even though they have rushed to judgment, I think in both cases, obviously have no respect for due process. That's
Right.
pretty clear. Don't you think there's a distinction, though, in how they reacted to both? I mean, when it was Kavanaugh, he was immediately declared guilty. There was a massive public hearing. There was an effort to completely discredit him forever as a human being. Here, what I see is, yes, calls to resign before they have all the facts, but it ends there. The public humiliation, all of that stuff they haven't brought into the equation this time around, it seems.
Yeah, the Kavanaugh situation certainly was, I would say, the lowest point I've ever witnessed in my time covering politics in Washington. It was absolutely disgraceful. And you're right, it really was sort of a mob of sorts that went after him. And there was nothing he could say, and there was no evidence that could be produced that would placate anybody. But it is still, you know, there should still be some sort of due process. There ought to be some hearing of the facts, and the real problem for you know, even if Fairfax does resign, if he quits, if he steps down, you're still going to have all these pictures lying around of Northam in blackface. And I assume that the same will emerge with Herring at some point. And those things will stick around for a long time. And I think it'll make a lot of voters later wonder, well, gee, who paid the price and what happened there?
Yeah. Charlie, we have less than a minute, but there's something I can't let pass. Dick Durbin, the #2 in the Senate the other day, was asked about this. And, you know, leaders in both parties, when something like this happens, they try to duck it. He said something to the effect of, look, I'm not from Virginia, so I'm not going to comment on something.
It's a local issue.
It's a local issue. Brett Kavanaugh, last I checked, he's not from Illinois in Dick Durbin's state, right? But he had a lot to say about that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and also, the hypocrisy is just absolutely astonishing, and especially, and as we get closer and closer to the 2020 elections, it's going to only get worse.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Charlie, appreciate you coming.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, guys.
A love for country and a passion for a pickup truck, a fallen Marine's wish for his son on his 16th birthday came true. Thanks to the generosity of a lot of people. The amazing story coming up next.
This is a very cool segment I'm honored to be a part of. Sergeant Nick Walsh loved serving his country. He loved his wife, Julie, and 2 sons. And he loved his Bronco truck. In fact, he planned to pass the truck on to his sons when they turned 16. But he never got the chance. The 26-year-old Marine was shot and killed in Iraq in 2007. It was his second deployment. Almost 12 years later, the truck needed a lot of work. So Julie told her boys a little fib, a little white lie, that she had sold it. But really, thanks to some very generous donations, the beloved truck was restored, and 16-year-old Tristan got the birthday surprise his dad always wanted. Watch.
Their dad's not here with them anymore. It helps to be a little piece of him back.
Got me tearing up here. Joining us now are mom Julie Walsh and sons Tristan and Tanner Walsh. Julie, thank you so much for being here. Tristan, Tanner, thank you so much as well. God bless your father and your husband, Nick Walsh, Marine Sergeant. We're so grateful for his service and his sacrifice. Julie, you know, what a powerful story. Was it difficult to mislead your son and tell him the truck was sold while holding out while getting it fixed?
It was super difficult. I mean, the minute I told him, they came and towed it that morning, and the minute he got home from school, he went out and was like, where's my dad's Bronco? And I said, you know, I ended up having to sell it. It was going to cost too much to have it fixed, and I mean, just the look on his face, he was.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
if looks could kill, and I've said that before, it was insane.
Before I go to Tristan, I want to get, but Julie, first, tell us a little bit about your husband.
There's so much to say in such a short time. I mean, he was just the most sweetest, caring person I just that you can possibly imagine. I mean, he could get you to smile and get you out of your head if you were having a bad day. Just an amazing man.
I believe you. Knowing men like him, who I had the privilege of serving with, they're the best our country has to offer. Tristan, what was it like to see that car come rolling out when you thought your mom had sold it?
Oh, it was amazing. I was just so surprised. I was just really happy that my mom did not sell the Bronco after all. I was just really happy.
I believe that. Now, Tanner, you're 12. You're not allowed to drive yet. Someday you will. This truck is for you also. Were you just as surprised? I mean, what did that feel like, buddy?
I felt really excited to see that the truck was back in good shape after it was just collecting dust inside the garage.
Well, I have a feeling it won't be collecting dust for long. You two look like troublemakers, if I've ever seen a couple myself. I have a couple little boys. They would probably do the same thing. But Tristan, your father's a hero, and I hope you grow up, Tristan and Tanner, you both grow up understanding that our nation is beyond grateful for men like him and what they've done. You know, when you step into that truck and you turn that ignition, what are you going to be thinking about?
I'm just kind of thinking about him every time and how he felt whenever he was starting the truck. And I'm like, just real excited and happy.
Well, that is how you should feel. There was a special message, a video message, that some of Nick's Marine buddies sent to Tristan and Tanner when that Bronco was revealed. We're going to play it for everybody. Watch.
I served with your dad at First Recon. Your dad's, memory lives on with all of us.
I know that he's proud of you guys.
I remember driving around in that Bronco with your dad. It's a lot of responsibility, so no texting and driving.
You drive it, just know he's looking at you, and he'll always love you, all right?
Remember your dad each time you drive it. God bless and Semper Fi.
You got a whole family of recon guys around you that you can reach out to if you ever need anything.
Julie, what a special message.
Oh my gosh, these guys are just so amazing. I mean, they've always checked in on us during every holiday. If they think it's like they can almost sense, like, if we need something, that they're sending me a text or an email just to say hi and check in on us. And I mean, they are all just amazing men that I hope that the boys are able to, when we take our road trip sometime this summer, next summer, they can actually start putting a face to the names of the stories that, I am able to tell them. So, I mean, they are just incredible.
Absolutely. Tristan and Tanner. Tanner, make sure Tristan teaches you how to drive, will you, bud? He's like, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Tristan,
I don't think he's going to have any problem with that.
I bet you're right. Tristan, have you taken it out yet already?
Yeah, we've taken it out a few times. Quite a lot, actually.
Good for you. Well, enjoy that.
The first night
Go ahead. Go, please.
Sorry, I was going to say the first night we got at home, their dad's recon buddies were like, oh my God, Tristan, they all piled in the truck together, and I mean, they were ready to go mudding in it, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, we just got this fixed up.
Boys will be boys, Julie. Be prepared for that.
Yes,
that's probably in your future.
I know, but as a mom, you're like, it just got fixed. Let's keep it looking nice for at least a month.
Well, Julie, Tristan, and Tanner Walsh, God bless you all. Thank you for the service of your husband and father, Nick Walsh. What you need to know, he is not forgotten. Those men remember what he did, and we do too. And that truck is a testament to his life and legacy. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning on Fox and Friends. All right, more Fox and Friends, just moments away.
expensive things.
Stuart Varney, you said, who's that? You know Phil Collins.
Yeah,
I just didn't recognize the voice.
Listen, he danced his way in. That's all that counts.
I did not.
A little. I saw a little movement
He
there.
always brings energy to the couch. We're glad you're here.
So what do you want to hear about today? The march. I want to do the
us.
March to Socialism.
Do you want to?
I really do.
Okay, let's start with part of the March to Socialism, which is that Green New Deal, which you wore a green tie on your show yesterday, not in solidarity.
You're killing me.
I know. This is Democratic hopeful Cory Booker on the Green Deal.
Yeah,
Watch.
look at this.
Our planet is in peril, and we need to be bold. There's a lot of people now that are blowing back on the Green Deal. They're like, oh, it's impractical. Oh, it's too expensive. Oh, it's all of this. If we used to govern our dreams that way, we would have never gone to the moon. God, that's impractical. You see that ball in the sky? That's impractical. And the planet has been in peril in the past. Who came forward to save Earth from the scourge of Nazi totalitarian regimes? We came forward. Our history is standing up and saying, look, humanity is in crisis. America is going to be light and the hope.
He came forward.
So what do you want to know?
Take it away.
Take it away.
I think that's the end point of this march to socialism. First, we had these proposals for huge increases in income tax, estate tax, social security tax, wealth tax. Huge increases. That's bottom line socialism. Then came the demand for Medicare for all, which is a form of socialism because you're going to get rid of 150 million Americans' private health insurance. Then comes the Green New Deal, which is radical environmental socialism. We're on that march further and further to the left till you end up where Senator Booker is right there, which is really hard to take. I mean, he obviously believes that the world is going to come to an end in 12 years' time, as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez insists. He agrees with her, therefore we must take this drastic action of revolutionizing our entire society. I don't think you can sell that.
See, here's the problem, though, Stuart. It all sounds really good. It sounds guarantees for everyone. Everything is free.
It's
oh, it
awful.
appeals to a lot of people. It appeals to a lot of people saying, oh, wait, they're looking out for me. Why is this? Explain to people, though, why is this dangerous? What's to be learned from other countries who have followed that path and seen a whole bunch of failure come along with it?
Good one. I'm an Englishman, born and raised in England.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm an American citizen. I'm an exile, a refugee from socialism. In the 1970s, that's when I left England, coal, steel, gas, all healthcare, most car production, electricity, airlines, trains, all run and owned by the government. And they ran them all into the ground. The economy of England virtually collapsed by the late 1970s. It took Margaret Thatcher, capitalist, to come on in, sweep it clean, and return to prosperity. I see us in America marching down exactly the same road, the socialist road, which is based upon a power grab. We want power over you. It's a money grab. We want your money. I think it's dangerous because it drives the economy into the dirt, and frankly, I think it's un-American. Now, that might sound strange coming from a guy with a British accent, but I do. It is un-American. America was not made prosperous and dynamic by socialism. It was capitalism, free market capitalism, under our Constitution that created the wealth and prosperity which we enjoy today. Don't go down that road, please, I beg you. Now, sorry, I'm on a roll here. I'm on a roll.
Don't stop.
When President Trump at the State of the Union message said, America will never be a socialist country, I stood up and cheered. I'm right behind him on that one. And I think most Americans really are too.
And are they providing him an incredible opening? Just, we've got 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
For 2020, because they're going so far out left that he can kind of run a little more middle course.
Can you really sell this to America? Massive taxation, revolution in energy.
I hope not, but our young people,
I'm
worried about the young people. They've never been taught about capitalism on their college campuses.
Okay, but young people are not going to decide this election. Middle America decides this coming election, and I don't think Middle America will buy this. They decided the last one. It is nonsense, and it's dangerous, and I don't think they'll buy it.
All right, Stuart Varney.
I hope
don't miss it. Fox Business.
Thanks for your passion.
Varney and the company, 9 to noon weekly, and then you came in on a Saturday. You want to come in tomorrow?
I'll be right here, Pete.
Oh, you heard it. Oh, okay, you get one day off.
One day off. All right, we are going to turn to some headlines for you. New York's new abortion law saves an accused murderer from an abortion charge in the deadly stabbing of his pregnant girlfriend. According to the New York Post, Anthony Hobson's second-degree abortion charge is now dropped after Governor Andrew Cuomo removed abortion from the state's criminal code and instead classifies it as a public health law. Hobson is charged with murder, accused of killing his girlfriend and their unborn child in their New York apartment. Cuomo's office isn't commenting on the murder case. Amazon is thinking twice about investing billions in the Big Apple. The online retail giant now reconsidering plans to build a second headquarters in New York City, according to the Washington Post. There are no reported plans to abandon the deal yet, but the company is facing a wave of opposition from local lawmakers, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. A brother and sister sent to play outside are now credited with saving a life. The two kids alerting their mother to a neighbor pinned underneath a car after hearing his desperate cries in Oklahoma.
We were playing a game and we heard him yelling for help. They came running in, just screaming and yelling. The neighbor broke his arms, just a complete total miracle.
Wow. Their mother says the only reason they were outside was because they were misbehaving and had their electronics taken away. The man, he's expected to make a full recovery. Remember Nancy Pelosi's sarcastic applause during President Trump's State of the Union address? Well, now she's clapping it up with Hollywood elite at a star-studded gala in Los Angeles. The California Democrat mocking the president with Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom. She previously said the clap was not meant to be sarcastic. Oh, so typical,
So it
though.
was
It's
sarcastic.
surprising to everyone. You make fun of the president, you go to a Hollywood gala. It's boring. It's predictable.
That's exactly
boring.
right. It's boring.
And it's out of touch, and it's why you lose elections, because
Well,
people can't stand that stuff.
we
That's
can-
why Trump won. That.
At least you can say that Rick is never boring.
That is true.
Guys, I wish that I could take the camera right now because we got a battle going on between these Kansas City and our camera guy who is
Keith.
Keith, no, who what, your Patriots.
Oh, the Patriots.
Yeah, so we've got a Patriots. Yeah, so it's getting rough out here. I mean, and it's all over. So we'll save this for a year. All right, let's talk some weather out there. It is cold out here, and it's really cold again across the far northern plains. Minus 34 actual air temperature in International Falls this morning. 13 in Kansas City. There you go. It's a little bit better here in New York right now. 24, so you got about 11 degrees better than your friends back home. A little bit of precipitation down across parts of the south. A little bit of freezing rain. Be careful on the roads this morning. Not going to be a major problem. We do have major problems, however, across the Pacific Northwest. Big snow moving in. In fact, probably record-breaking snow around the Seattle area, down towards Portland throughout the week. This is where the precipitation is going to fall. Pretty much everybody getting in on the act. But the big story to start is going to be all this precipitation in across the Pacific Northwest. We've got avalanche warnings. We have blizzard warnings in effect. Yesterday, we saw over 6 inches in Seattle itself, and the snow continues to fall. And it's going to stay cold, so the snow's not going anywhere very quickly. All right. Well, thank you for playing along. Guys, send it back to you inside.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, the Washington Post now drawing attention to the high rate of veteran suicides at VA facilities. So what changes need to be made to help our heroes? Joey Jones lost his leg serving overseas. Why he says the VA is still ill-equipped to handle mental health, coming up next.
Plus, it's a community that was the site of a massive fentanyl bust, and it knows it's a pathway for illegal drugs to get to the rest of the Northeast. So why will Elizabeth Warren celebrate in that very town, Lawrence, Massachusetts, today? A potentially epic fail coming up.
Another.
An important new Washington Post story highlighting the challenges veterans still face when seeking help from the VA, especially when it comes to mental health and preventing suicide. 19 veterans that according to their stats, took their own lives on VA campuses, mostly in parking lots, between October 2017 and November 2018. So what does this tell us about the importance of the VA reform the Trump administration is working on that gives our veterans a choice in their care? Joining us now, retired U.S. Bomb Corps technician who lost both his legs in a bomb blast in Afghanistan, Joey Jones. So, Joey, I have a personal connection to this. I know you do as well. I hear of people that we know who run up against the bureaucracy at the VA, and unfortunately, they take their own lives in the process. Talk to us about this.
Well, this is something that touches near and dear to my heart. I carry 24 veterans on my wrist, 24 veterans that died in combat Quite honestly, it makes a lot of sense. That's what we go to combat. We risk our lives, and sometimes we lose. And that's part of it. I can deal with that. But it's my best friend from back home, a guy I grew up with. His dad's a Desert Storm vet. He was our football coach. He came back home in 2008, got addicted to painkillers and self-medicate from some of the experiences. In 2012, with no other option, he decided to take his own life. He thought that was the only way to quit inflicting pain on his family. When you look back at what we were going through, myself, our other best friend Keith, and his family, we were writing affidavits to have him put into detox facilities. We were doing everything we could. And the VA told him they didn't have any room or any funding for inpatient treatment. And he knew that just going to Narcotics Anonymous wasn't enough. And he decided to take his own life. Now, I've got a voicemail he left me 5 days before he took his own life. And it haunts me today. And what it highlights is that the bureaucracy at the VA is so frustrating and sometimes so adversarial that we feel like we don't have anywhere left to turn.
Joey, on an ongoing basis, I hear this story from folks who are helping vets try to get access to the VA, and they still don't. Inside that institutional bureaucracy, there seems to be no connection to the urgency. What is it about choice, the ability for a veteran to get private care, that you think is an important part of this solution?
Well, it's actually quite simple. At a VA facility,